Good morning and welcome to Equity Story, Monday, the 11th of July. In front of you, we've got the disclaimer. Quickly go through that. Basically, everything we talk about today, or me, because I'm on my own today, is of general nature only, and any stories, stocks we talk about is definitely based on technicals and fundamentals only. All right, few things to get through. It's been a fairly subdued start this morning. I think down 11 points the last time I looked, about a minute ago. So really, it's probably going to be all about China this week, and maybe some catalysts to come through from that. I'm hoping we're going to see a little bit more follow through from last week's tech resurgence. I mean, 1 week doesn't, of course, make us get excited too much, but at least it was a little bit of a good sign that maybe the market's looking for some bottom type stories where they've been pretty much oversold, a lot of them. Why China is because if we look at the economic calendar, we've got very important things happening on Friday, right? So if I'm going to do Fridays, and trading economics is the best place to go through, and actually I'll share this with you so you can see for yourself. I'll just do a new share and go to, here we go, right there. You can see it now. We've got China on Friday, 15th of July. We've got retail sales, a GDP growth rate, industrial production, a lot of very, very important numbers coming out of China. So maybe it will be a subdued start until we get to Friday, and then we might get a direction which way to go, one way or the other. So that will be key for us. Of course, other things are happening, US, EA, and so on, but that's really probably for us key. So let's see how the market goes for the next few days. Let's go to having a look at actually some stories that come up with some announcements. And we're probably going to start, and again, I'm going to change the screen for you to can have a look exactly what I'm looking at. So let's have a look, and we're going to look at some charts first, and then from there we'll see what sort of stories are looking good, which ones are not looking good. So look, I'm going to start with a bad thing well, when I say a bad thing, but it's something that I suppose normally bothers me when I see stuff like this, and that is NWC, and I'm just going to put that in right now. So they come up with an update today, talking about, I think just the basic scoping studies. One of the projects they've got there, I think, in Canada. And I'll actually go there so you can see it for yourself. So let's put in NWC, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. The things that really irk me when I see it. And that's, I think we got a scoping study results right there. And if I go to the page, and I'm going to bring that up so you can see it. If I go to page, everything looks pretty good, right? And you look at through thing here, it says project overview, production rate, 10 years, yada, 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 all looking not bad. But then you go and code here, the project economics. So you've got a cash one cost of 166. It's a little bit high. Then you've got NPV at 7% discount rate. That's really low. I would really be wary of that. And the other thing that really, that's the one that kills it for me, applying spot prices and the prices they've used in this scoping study. Now, if you go down to the bottom of this, what do they actually use? And you go here, assuming commodity prices of copper of $8,500. That's a bit rich. 8,500 per ton is crazy numbers to use in your scoping study. That's one thing. Second of all, using spot prices, it's already below the spot prices, I think, if I looked at today as well. So it just shows that this project is just, I suppose, beautified for investors out there to make it look better than it actually maybe it is when you look at the long-term type averages of numbers of commodity prices. So I'm not sure why would you be using 800,000 tons for copper and so on. So look, anyway, it's way too much for me. And even, you've got $1,800 per ounce gold, which is crazy. It's actually below that right now. So these numbers are very bullish, and it's way bullish for me. You should be using conservative numbers so you can see what the project is like if things are back to normal, not when things are bullish, because if things are not back to normal, which normally happens, this project probably won't work. Anyway, so that's what really sometimes bothers me when I see stuff like this. Let's go back to the charting, and we'll go through some of the other stories. So NWC wasn't great for me. If I go back to the chart, anyway, we're not going to trade it anyway. It's doesn't look great on the charts. Let's go to CV1, next one. Now we're going to go through some tech stocks today, this morning, so you can see if there is anything in there that maybe we can, it's got some merit, maybe for a recovery like we saw last week, or some of these stocks. I mean, CV1 is a lightly traded stock, so it's not easy to trade. So I'd probably be leaving that one off my watch list, but at least it's nice to see, a company that's delivered some good news today, and it's sort of reflecting today. But trading below, can it get up to that 13-14 cents? Of course it can, over the next month, if the market sort of see that recovery we've seen last week on some of the tech stocks. However, there's probably better stories out there because there's little volume in this. It's going to be wild and possibly not reflective of what might actually happen over the next month. So I like the announcement today, but maybe we'll leave this one off. Next one is AGH, and the reason I'm talking about this one this morning is that it's still kicking quite a bit of goals revenue wise. Now 21 million, I think, for the 12 months. So it's actually rapidly growing. It's in the cannabis space, so it's rapidly growing. But as you can see, it's been really sold down to 8.5 cents. So stocks like this, forgotten. Yes, it's unprofitable. We know that. High risk. Those sort of stories have been sold down. But is there some merit in some of these things that have been sold, especially growing its revenues? Quite possibly. So I suppose with things like AGH, because the actual sector is not trending right now, it's much harder for me to get excited about this. So I would probably only be trending this if it gets over these trend lines, and if the market sort of starts liking this space again. But for the moment, no. But again, I like the announcement. It is growing its revenues. It's possibly getting better and better with time. So watch this from the bottom somewhere to see how it goes over the next 6 months. Next one. Let's have a look at EM2. Of course, we like this one as a copper play, but it's just been a very hard struggle for a lot of these stocks in this space to do anything, especially when it's not a miner, so it's still a explorer in a way, maybe / explorer developer. And while the results are pretty good, still nice copper hits and fairly good thicknesses, and some other silver and gold in there. It is still, for the markets right now, they're just not quite interested in this sort of stories right now. That's why it's a little bit languishing in the 23 cents. And again, you cannot trade this right now if you're not in it. We only can come back, I suppose, when it gets back over that 30, 37, 38 cents before we start looking a bit more interesting. So for us, we like the story, not trending. So we're still passing. We're still going to talk about these results and when they come through. But maybe what these guys need, and we talked about many times before, that we need to see an update exactly what's going to, is there going to be a mine? Is there going to be a update on the economics of these sort of things? I suppose the investors are just looking for something a bit more, because results we know pretty good. Let's go to the next one, EML. This one has been, I suppose, in the doghouse recently, but I want to talk about it because change of CEOs is always interesting to talk about. The market is not taking it greatly, is it? I mean, minus 15% is not fantastic. And we talked about this. This was a sell back then. I mean, it was been a seller since probably there, right? When it's dropped down. So it's been a long time sell. Every time it has a bit of a bounce, it keeps going down and down and down. Now it's $1.09. Can it go lower? Yes, it can. It's not an easy business to follow. It's not an easy business to love. So for me, pass. Change of CEO is always difficult. Market didn't like it at all today. So I wonder what's that about. But because I don't follow the story too much, again, pass the keeper. Do not touch. And if you're still in this, if it goes below $1, you got it. This is your last line. This is the last line of defense was probably here. But if you're still in this, there's really no more excuses. Let me see if I can make a case for this at all. So you've got. See, this was the last line of defense here, right? 130. So it dropped below that. You're 104 now. So this is the last line, $1. There's really nothing else you can do. Then you've got no strategy if you don't sell below $1. Let's go to the next one. Pro, a good announcement this morning. And we like to see good announcements come through and bad announcements because, it just gives us an idea exactly what makes it good, what makes it bad. We like to discuss other things. But Pro came up with a decent growth rate at about now 20 million odd in revenues. Its market cap is about 60 million, so it's not expensive story. It had a very good run. It's got this Prophecy and Snare and Emite businesses that's are going quite well for them. Market sold off the tech stocks. It wasn't immune, of course. It's going to come back. It's started to bounce now. Can it come back further? Of course it can. We talked about these things. 3 times revenues looks fairly inexpensive. Can you get over that dollar? Yeah, $1.10, $1.20. That's probably what maybe looking at back to the $1.20. But it's one of those things. Do you like it enough to trade? It's a lightly traded stock again. If there is a recovery in tech space like we've seen last week, if there's a follow through on for the next 2 or 3 weeks, we might see this back up to $1.10, $1.20, because the results were, I suppose, good enough for me to see that recovery happening. And that brings me to the next point. What other companies are there? We talked about them last week that could do well, and I looked through maybe just to see what else can surprise nicely or positively. So I looked at Whisper. That looked pretty good. I think if you look at the last announcement from, I think from May, or maybe one month before that from April, they're talking about that they're going to hit the upper end of guidance, right? That's a nice thing to see. Now, of course, it had that huge jump last week. There's a resistance right about there, so it's not helping them. It might take a little bit of time to get there. Maybe it will try to back of the dollar and go again, but that might surprise on the upside. So maybe this is something to have a look at. Also, ALC, I think, is another one that potentially could surprise on the upside with its winning contracts and so on over the last 2, 3, 4 months. So again, this one's trying. It's been a much lower grind of this one. Maybe got that 16 cents in it. That's 20% right there. That's not a bad little play if you're going to be looking at that. Yeah, that's the 2 things I just found this morning that I thought that could surprise on the upside, where you might have a little play with. They might update quite well, and it might have a little run. Last one. Now, this is another negative story, but again, I need to mention it because I just want to reiterate the same old, where you've got a company is trying to get into the US. It's got a product that they want to get the FDA approved by. All looks good. They're talking about all the positives. We're going to get it. And the FDA comes back and says, computer says no. And there you go. So it goes down. How much does it go down? 63%. Just shows how hard, first of all, it is to get to the US. And even though you think the company should be able to get approval, it's much harder than the reality is. And usually it's actually a negative result. And you can see here, in fact, if you look at it, FDA approvals are very few and far between. So I normally, if you're going to be playing it, play it on once they get it FDA, then get in and maybe have a little bit of a run, take the easy money, quick money, and get out and see how it goes from there. So as you can see, that was a pretty bad, I suppose, announcement for LDX. So it's definitely a no-go zone. Let's have a look if there's anything else, maybe announcement-wise, in the last few minutes, and see what's actually top of my screen, and we'll see from there. So we've got, at the moment, I just want to make sure that we're on the right screen here. Yeah, we are, which is good. So we are going to have a look at the last couple of announcements, and I think I've gone through most of them anyway. Like I said, I think this week you're going to be just biding your time for the next couple of days just to see how things go. One thing I will mention is, of course, IGL, which is our hot stock. And let's have a look at actually that chart right now, because that's a very important one. It's one of our smaller dividend stocks, but it's been doing quite well. And it had a really, really nice chart last week. So I can imagine why that's gone up there as a hot stock. So let's have a look at that. And you can see, beautiful comeback, bounced very strongly about 4 weeks ago. Had a nice little move up last week. And you still got a little bit, you got this week just, what was it, 1 cent up, I think. Let me have a look. Yep, that's looking too bad. Hopefully you can get that $2 out of that. That'll be about 10% odd. So that's, it looks very educational punting right here with us hot stock, which is going to pay you a great dividend. And I think we've got a P of about 11, dividend of about 8.5. Thank you very much. It should do okay over the next month or so from that point of view. All right. I think let's wait to see what those announcements are in China. And like I said, there's going to be still a lot of quarterlies coming through. So we'll see if there's anything else this week that catches our eye. Apart from that, have a great start to the week. Enjoy your trading, and I'll speak to you again tomorrow. Cheers, guys.